Hello, today we will be taking a brief look at 3 databases that can be used to find primary sources for British history research topics. This is a nice definition from Princeton University. A primary source is a document or physical object which was written or created during the time under study. We will take a look at the Digital Library of Classic Protestant Texts and English historical documents, both of which are subscription databases and are available through the University of Alabama libraries. We will also look at British History Online, which has content that can be accessed without additional cost on the internet. This is the homepage for Digital Library of Classic Protestant Texts. It's very narrow in scope, meaning it only has information about a small number of topics, and in fact there are only about 845 documents in the database. The database provider, Alexandra Street Press, offers a selection of small databases like this. For this database, the documents are religious texts written by authors during the Reformation and post-Reformation period. The Reformation plays an important role in British history, even though it isn't a specifically British historical event. You can browse the documents by author's last name, title of work, topics, genre, and religious traditions. You can see there aren't very many documents included in this database. There is also an advanced search page where you can type in the author's name. You can also type in a keyword or phrase. You can search using a controlled vocabulary, which is where the topic is. Or you can search by biblical citation. You can choose the book of the Bible, then type in chapter and verse. You also have a help page in case you need it. We're going to take a look at a work written by Martin Luther. The first work that shows is the 95 Theses. If you click on the bibliographic details, you get information such as the year this particular work was published. In this case, it's 1550, and it was published in Wittenberg. It has genre information, the collection title, how long it is, and also where this work is housed. If you take a look at the work, the first thing you get is the transcript. You can see that the text is in Latin. The reason I like this database is if you scroll down and click on Page Image, you get a digital image of the 16th century printing. And you can page through that. And that is a very brief look at a very small database that can be used for primary sources of British history. Now we're going to take a look at English Historical Documents, which is another subscription database provided by the University of Alabama libraries. As you can see on this page, it is a broader database than the Protestant text database that we looked at a second ago. It has over 5,000 documents and covers a time period between 500 AD and 1914, and also has a broader range of topics. You can find information about abbreviations that are used within the database. There are also notes whether the dates have been adjusted or whether there have been spelling changes or what language was used for the documents, information like that. You're able to browse by subject. There is an advanced search capability where you can type in the keywords you want to search for. You can also search by document title, by a person's name or place. You can adjust the date range if you know approximately when your document was written. We're going to take a look at Volume 5. It's roughly the same time period as the Protestant texts. And since we're still interested in the Reformation as an example, we're going to take a look at the religious documents. we're going to pull up a criticism of the English clergy, which is a document from 1511. Some of the features this database has include sharing the link to this on social media or by email. The person you're sharing with would also have to have access to this database in order to get to this document. You can download your citations if you use a citation management software such as RefWorks. You can add the document to a list so you can come back to it later. And if you need to adjust the way you view the document, you have those controls up here. You can also search within the document. Above the line, you have information that could be about the author or the context in which the document was written. And below the line, you have the document itself, which would be your primary resource. One of the nice features of this database is the ability to highlight a section. And if you're more successful than I have been in creating an account and coming back and being able to log in, you can save it and come back to it later. You can also create a note. And again, if you wanted to save it and come back later, you can do that. Another interesting feature about English historical documents is the timeline. If you click on that, you get a timeline starting with 500 AD, moving to 1914, and it lists the documents contained in the database. If there's one that you see that you'd like to take a look at, you just click on it. And here you have Pope Gregory I's letter. And that is a brief look at this database. The last database we'll look at is British History Online. They also offer premium content as a subscription, which includes an additional 180 volumes as sources, but we're only going to be looking at the content available for free online today. This database has a broad scope in relation to the Digital Library of Protestant Texts. You can search by subject and by region, which is over here to your left. You can also search the catalog, which has some interesting topics. The broad topics are listed in this drop-down menu that you can just choose from. If you go to the top of the page and hover on period and then on timelines, you get a list of the monarchs whose documents are included in the database. We're going to take a look at Henry VIII because he's always interesting. It just takes a minute for the timeline itself to load. And once it does, you can hold your mouse button down and scroll left or right. We're going to take a look at Defender of the Faith. If you click on that up there in the timeline, it takes you, or it gives you a link that you can click on. In the blue area is information such as when it was published. In this case, it was actually published in 1867. Gives the editor information about that publication, but the documents themselves are from 1519 to 1523 in this particular case. You're also given citation, which you can choose the format. below that are your transcripts that you could use as primary documents. One interesting thing this database offers is information about the condition of the document itself. This first paper was written on vellum and it was mutilated, as you can see. That's just some interesting information, even though you can't see the document itself. You can scroll down, it gives you the information listed related to that. The database contains letters, parliament papers, ordnance maps, letters and diaries, and other information like that. If you return to the top of the page and click on text search, you can also perform a search using a keyword or person's name. This also supports Boolean searching. And that is a look at a free database that you can use to find British history primary sources. It doesn't offer a lot of features like some of the subscription databases do, but there's still useful information that you can find here. I'd like to thank you for joining me in this very brief look at 3 databases that can be helpful in researching British history. As you can tell, it would be worth the time to get familiar with the databases and the features that they offer, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of research in these areas. And I wish you luck with your searching. Thank you.